Hi, this is Aaron. Hey, I wanted to show you something related to this program called BUFKIT. I said I was going to do this for a while now, and it's taken me longer than I thought. What I wanted to do is put everything related to BUFKIT in an organized fashion somewhere where people could get it. So I started thinking about how to do this, and what I ended up doing was putting it under advanced weather on the Soaring Road Trip website. And so what I'm going to do is show you how to set it up. I have the majority of the East Coast sites that produce soundings, like airports that have that do the weather balloon launches and or have stations that run these soundings. So anyhow, to get BUFKIT, which is like an advanced meteorology program, it what this is terrible talking to the microphone when you're stammering and stuff. But anyways, what I'm trying to show you is how to download this BUFKIT and learn to use this weather sounding data. And then the stations, I have GFS3, NAM, and HRRR as the data sets that this is going to pull. So what I've done is basically create an easy way for other pilots to use this without going through the initial setup and torture that I went through. So I'm going to show you what I did, and then it should be a pretty easy process for you to start using BUFKIT once you have this thing set up, or once you get this information. And then I also have on here, there's some other explanations about things that are weather related that I got from other people. So anyway, that's why I created this advanced weather tab, was to try to make it easier for people to get information if they want to study forecasts and study the weather a little bit deeper for getting good soaring weather. So anyhow, what I'm going to show you is download BUFKIT weather program. This computer here has never had BUFKIT installed on it, so I hope this goes smoothly. I didn't want to delete BUFKIT off of my other computer because obviously I don't want to have to redo my own setup. So I'm going to try to show you how to set it up freshly on a computer that's never had this. So click that, and what that does is it takes you to this website that's NOAA, National Weather Service, whatever. And what you can do then is here it is, BUFKIT 19 zip download. So what you want to do is grab that right there and download it. So right now it's currently downloading it. Once it gets that, I'm going to go on my downloads and find it. Okay. So that popped up on another window here. There's BUFKIT 19. So this is a bit easier to use BUFKIT if you have two screens, but it's not necessary to have two screens. So I'm going to click on this and get this to install on this computer, where this BUFKIT 19, where it just, see it put it under downloads there. Alright, application, setup. Well, I'm just going to click on this application right here called Setup. Alright, it says, do you want this thing to make changes to your device? Yes. Welcome to the BUFKIT 19 installation program. Setup cannot install blah 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 if they're in use. Before proceeding, we recommend that you close any applications. Okay, I think I'm good. So there's where it's going to put it. C program files x86 BUFKIT. Well, do it. Go. Okay. Continue. Now it says continue. It's a little quirky because it almost seems like it's an old program, but yet it works just dandy. Okay, so it's installing it here on my... Jeez. Make something down. So it's installing it here on this computer. Okay, it says it was installed successfully. Alright. Okay, close that. I don't know, where did it put the icon for it? I guess it didn't make an icon for BUFKIT. Huh. Type search BUFKIT. Okay, there it is. So it did install it, but it didn't automatically make an icon on the desktop, so I can do that. It's an application. Pin to taskbar. See if that works. Ah, okay, there it is. So there's the icon for it right down there for the BUFKIT. I don't know. Anyhow, what you do then is open up BUFKIT. Okay, you are installing BUFKIT. Okay, I thought we already did install it. Ah, there it is. Here it comes. Okay, so here's the program in its raw form. So what this program does is you can use it to look at skew-Ts, and you can also look at a bunch of other parameters too on this thing. So this overview button here is good. If you click that, it opens up a second window, okay? Now if you have two screens, what's really convenient is you throw the one on the other screen like that, and a lot of this stuff is probably over my head because I'm not hugely into meteorology. I've learned I'm learning, but I don't know what I don't know. So what the important thing that I want to show you on this BUFKIT is how to get set up, at least as good as I've got mine set up. That way, you know, you can begin using it, and then you'll probably learn and experiment with it. So okay, this is important right here. Get data. Oh, and by the way, this training stuff seems outdated. I wouldn't even bother with that. Get data. Okay. So this window pops up for get data. And in here it has, like on this list A, it's kind of like what came with it, default. And what these are is I guess sites, like airport sites. I sort of figured this out on my own, that these are sites. It must be an airport called OUN or something. Well, this is just a starting point. So what we're going to do is we're going to load these profile lists. So profile list A is already loaded. What we want to do is do some overwriting here. If you load B, okay, there's a bunch of junk in there for B already. And C, there's a list there of different airports. Apparently other people, it's just defaults, it's stuff people used. So every time you click one of these, it loads up this text in here that tells the computer where to search for these sounding files. So anyhow, and then when you have this red over here, that's save profile list. Be very careful that you don't overwrite your stuff when you're using this, because it'll create you more work to redo stuff. So anyhow, I'll go back to A, list A, and then what I'm going to do is go back to the Soaring Road Trip website. Nah, not that. Let me see here. That's not what I was going to. I want to go back to Chrome, where I had the... Okay, advanced weather on the Soaring Road Trip. Let's load up GFS 3, okay? Alright. Well. Huh? Well, why isn't this working? Oh, so it did it. It did load it. Alright. Geez, my bad. I have not been using this computer much, and it seems like it's a little screwed up. So here I have list B. I was expecting this to download, and it did, but I didn't recognize that it had downloaded. So what it does when you click on the Soaring Road Trip GFS 3 data, it's going to get you all these text things here. Well, what these are is pretty much all of the major weather stations on the East Coast that are kind of close to airports. I highlighted all that stuff. I drug it down and turned it blue. So what I'm going to do is hit copy on here. Okay. Well, all we're doing is stealing this text here. So you don't have to recreate all this stuff. So you get what you do is then you come into the BUFKIT, be on this list A, and then highlight that, and I guess all of this junk, all of that. Highlight it blue, delete. Okay, now right click. Well, no, doesn't respond good to Windows. Hit Control V. Alright, so there, that pasted in all those weather stations up and down the East Coast. Okay, now what you want to do is you want to save this as profile list B, okay? Now that you've done that, now let's load profile list A back up again, okay? So we didn't overwrite A, it's still the same as it was. If we click on B now, okay, now we've got all the sites that I just copied in there because it saved them in there, okay? For the model GFS 3, okay? So now next thing we're going to do is come over here, back to this, and grab the NAM. So it's easy. You just grab that. It downloaded it. It did it so quick. That's why I didn't see it. Okay, back to downloads. We want GFS. No, we want NAM data. All right. So grab that NAM data. I'm back on the other screen, and we're going to save that in profile list C. All right. Scroll all the way down here till we got the very last one. Got them all. Okay. Right click, copy. Then we go back to, let's go back to list A and highlight that stuff again, delete it. Then we're going to do Control V again. So now we have this in list C. There's all those stations. Now it's not in there permanently until you save it as profile list C, okay? So I just did that. Now you can go back to A and load up C and make sure it loads up. Okay, there it is. So it's in there. Okay. Go back to A, just so we don't overwrite what we just did with saving that. Grab the HRRR data. Okay, that downloaded. Go to downloads, grab it. HRRR, grab that. Oh, that list is shorter. Okay, so get all of that on list D. Right click, copy. You can close that. Now highlight this junk again in list A, delete it, and hit Control V again. Okay, there's list D saved. Not saved yet, but I'm gonna save it as list D. Okay, says list D saved. Go back to A. Make sure that D upload or loads up good. Okay, it did. Excellent. Okay, so now we're set up. All right. Now what I would do at this point, just to be sure, is I'm gonna close the program, okay, and I'm gonna reopen it just to make sure that everything took that we did. Oh, I gotta close that thing too. Alright, so here's the program icon down here. Hit that. Go back up to get data. Okay. Now what we want to do is, let's load up profile list B, which is that GFS for all those weather stations. Now, this would be a good point to go get your cup of coffee. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hit Get Profiles. Now it's going to search those FTP sites and grab the weather data from those. So I hit Get Profiles. Now watch what it's doing. It's going through and it's finding all that data and it's copying it into the program here. And it's like archiving it into the program. So at this point I'm going to shut this camera off and go get another cup of coffee and just let it do its thing. It'll probably be 3 or 4 minutes here downloading this GFS3 data. Okay, got my coffee. I'm back. It says profile list completed. So it got the weather data for GFS3 from all those sites. Okay, next thing. Load profile list. Let's do C, and we're going to get the NAM data. Okay, get profiles. Hit that. It's working through here. It's getting all that data. Now while it's doing this, I'll just talk for a second about this program. So I learned about this program from a guy named Travis Koshko, and he's a meteorologist. I believe he's in Virginia. He happened to be visiting Hyner one day, and he talked to Will Perez and myself about this program because we got talking with him while we were waiting to launch and stuff. And we were talking with him about skew-Ts and weather and stuff like that. He said, oh boy, if you're into that kind of depth on weather stuff, you should really try out this program called BUFKIT. And so that's, in conversation with Travis, we got some more information. He sent me how to download the program and how to, kind of get set up with it. So I started just experimenting, and that's how I learned what I've learned so far. I'm sure I have a lot more to learn, but Anyhow, Larry Bunner had been a big advocate of using skew-Ts because they have a lot of information that you can gather from them to help your flying. So in a few conversations with Larry, he kind of showed me some tricks and stuff using the online skew-Ts. Now, since we were using those, the government took them down for whatever reason. We can't access them anymore. However, when you have this program, you can still access basically the same data. It's going to look a little bit differently, but these weather balloon soundings are kind of like the key to understanding what's going on in the atmosphere around you. So, and then they build the weather models off of this data that we have in weather models like GFS and NAM. Let me now it says profile list completed there. Let's go to D, and we're gonna get the HRRR profiles. So I'm gonna hit get profiles there. So it's cranking through getting those. So, you know, in about, I don't know, 5 minutes in the morning on a flying day, you can do this. You know, just grab a cup of coffee, start downloading this data. Now, once it's done here, I'm going to go through some of the basic setup that I did when I was initially setting this thing up for my own use. And I'm going to go over to my other computer, and then I'll come back to this one and try to make the settings on this one the same as on my other computer. It won't take that long. Okay, it says profile list completed. Good. So we got the HRRR profiles in there. Alright, I'm going to hit exit. Now, something that I've noticed is after you've gotten this data, you actually need to close the program. For whatever reason, I guess since it's archived data, it's using what it had in there before. So if you want to be using the data that you just collected, you kind of have to close out of the program. And when you go back into the program, the new data will be there. Okay, so here we go. Look at this, like KELM. Let me hit overview again. So down here you can tell whether your data is fresh by looking at this. Tuesday, March 18th, 8 a.m. Well, it is Tuesday, March 18th. It's not 8 a.m. anymore, but I don't know. I must have been, let me see. There's a slider bar on here. Oh, yeah, the slider bar is up here, okay. And it moves along, but you can see the numbers changing on the time. So the whole timeline thing started at 8 a.m. and as you move this slider bar up the top, okay, now we're up to March 19th. So this would be like tomorrow's. Okay. Alright, I think it's time for me to go to the other computer and show you the settings that I have set up for the various screens. One thing I can show you here is okay, that's Elmira Airport, that's Pittsburgh there, that's University Park. If you hit this map thing, you can see where these weather stations are at right here, and it highlights them like, I don't know, oh, there's OUN, that's way out there, I don't know what that is, but we're not going to be using that. Albany, it highlighted that one red. If I want to do, like, say, Rochester, I don't know. Oh, it's hidden under the green thing. Let's look at Syracuse. Okay, there's Syracuse. Let's see. IPT is Williamsport. Here we go. And Charlotte, I think there's Charlotte there. So you can see what weather station and approximate data that you're getting, like the area that you're getting it in. So I just wanted to show you that. Okay, I'm going to shut this off, take a little break. I'll be back and I'll show you on my other computer what the settings are that I have selected. Okay, so I'm back. I'm on my other computer, the computer that I normally use BUFKIT on. So here we go. I'm going to load the program up, and unfortunately I have to reload the data. So I'm going to hit this overview thing, get that over there, and I'm going to get data on this one. So I'm going to grab this profile list B, because what I just did earlier was I set up my second computer to be loaded up with BUFKIT just as my normal computer is. So I'm going to hit get profiles here to get all the GFS3 ones. Now this, ooh, what happened? Oh, yeah. So I'm not connected to the internet here. So after I connect to the internet, it should work. Ah, man, what a thing. All right, good. We're connected to the internet now. So get data, load profile list B, get profiles. So it's going to do its thing. I'm going to shut this off again. You don't need to watch this a second time. Hey, okay, so now I'm back to this. I'm on my normal computer, and I'm going to just show you the settings that I have and how I think they are set up to benefit me as a pilot to see what I need to see. So I'm going to exit out of this thing about loading profiles and getting data. Get out of there. So right up here is where you pick the model that you want to see. You can see everything change when I pick the different model there. Let's take a look at this. So say I want to fly, what site might I want to fly? Say I want to fly Harris Hill. I'll use the Elmira KELM as the airport identifier for Elmira. So let's see here. So I'll move the slider bar. What am I looking at for settings here? Wow, that's crazy. Huh. What day is this? Wednesday, March 19th. At 2 p.m. I don't know what that looks crazy. For the, let me look. Let's see what the actual, like I often do this. I'll compare the Weather Underground forecast to this to see if I feel like it's getting like it's close. Oh wow. Yeah, look at that. So for Wednesday the 19th, that's what I'm on here, Wednesday the 19th. The wind is totally the wrong direction for Elmira, but I'm just looking at the skew-T thing here. Actually it's not the skew-T, it's just the profile. If I click on skew-T over here, it'll it'll change that. But this is the wind information right here, and this is the altitude in feet over here. So it's giving you wind speed and direction. If I toggle on this vector winds, digital winds. So if I'm looking at Wednesday, Wednesday 2 p.m. Here's my wind direction and speed. So it's not reading out in, oh yeah, it is. It's actually is reading the direction for you. That would be the azimuth, and that would be the wind speed. So I think that's really good information to have, because what it does is it tells you whether the wind direction is changing with altitude. So to me, that's handy. And then here you can see the altitude over here. Well, why is that good? Well, it would tell you if there's going to be, like, if you saw this drastically change direction or something, or speed at, say, a given altitude. Like on this day, it's kind of going a little bit more southwest as you get up higher. But if you saw this radically different direction here, well, chances are you might have a wind shear situation. You know, there could be bad turbulence at that altitude, because you have one layer going this way and another layer going that way. And I think we've probably all seen that before, and seen it in the sky. I know I have, where I've seen clouds going one direction at one elevation, like say the lower clouds are going one direction, and up high the other clouds are going another direction. You know, it's kind of a, unless it's an illusion, but I kind of think it's, you know, it does happen at times. Like if you compare it to like the clouds to a fixed point on the ground, like say a tree limb, and you look at it, you'll see the upper clouds going one direction, you'll see the lower level clouds going another direction. Well, something has to happen between those air layers, you know, that it's going different directions and different speeds. So just saying. So let me show you the settings here. Just some basic stuff that I've got set up. I like to see, let's see, all this stuff seems to come up normal when I open this. If I hit recall F1, I think I've saved some stuff there. Yeah, I have. So that, it's the same like as when we were saving the profile list to load up. This program kind of works the same way. Once you get your settings turned on in here that you want, you can do a save F1, and then when you come back and open this program up again, you can hit you can hit recall, and you'll be able to get your settings back that you had before. So I have inversions turned on. Huh. And I have the skew-T thing turned on. Oh, so yeah, it looks a little different with that. It almost does look like you're kind of getting an inversion here. I don't know if that's the right term to use, but this goes back on itself. To me, that means that, you know, there's potential there that the atmosphere might not lift off higher than this jag right here. I could be wrong, but that's how I interpret that a lot of times. Okay. Well, it's also interesting to note that as you go up here, you'll get it's giving you readouts. I believe that's degrees Celsius there that it's reading out. Let's see. Let's go to the other areas here. So on convection, I have this turned on. All that stuff is turned on. Lake effect, I pretty much ignore that. Alerts, Conrad, I don't know what that is, and I don't use it. Okay. So I think the most important things here are overlays and convection. And go back up top here, and you can see, I don't know why that said done. Maybe that closes the program. I don't use that. Okay, data. Here's the profile data. Map, I've showed you the map. Indices. This is good because you can actually look at the numbers here and you can see different things going on there when you change the slider bar. Okay, let's see. Precip type. I don't use that either. Lapse rates. Some people might like to see the lapse rates. Because, you know, what we're doing here is we're changing the time of day. That's 2 a.m. Okay, here we are at, let's see, March 19th, 3 p.m. No, that's 9 p.m. 3 p.m. March 19th, that'd be tomorrow. You know, you can see these lapse rates changing by the timeline. So if you're into that, you can look at those. I don't use that. Cape shear, I don't really use that. Hodograph, I don't use that either, but maybe I should be. There's velocity and shear. Fog, I don't use that either. So here, this is kind of interesting to look at under this archive. So I'm looking at GFS3 Elmira. I can pick different. Where'd that go? Archive. So these are the different times apparently that the model was updated. Now, oh yeah, so this is archive data. I'm looking at this. So today, which is March 18th, so it was updated. I guess that'd be midnight. Wow, jeez, come back. The latest one would be this 3:18:12. So that'd be like 6 a.m., noon, or 12, whatever. So you can choose which model you're looking at. I typically just look at the latest one to see, because then you can move your, if you know you got the latest model, then you can just move your slider bar to the time frame you're looking at flying at. Okay, enough about that. Well, let me see here. I think I've showed you this stuff before, but go back to data. No, I don't want that map. I like the map. Okay. So I'm looking at the overlays there. There's all kinds of stuff you can tinker with and play with. Like, I'll turn the inversions thing on and off just to kind of see what's going on with that. But I think where we're going to get some benefit here out of looking at this is, I'll show you where, like over here, if I recall F1, that's the settings that I had set up before. If I recall F2, I have different settings set up in there. Now what does this mean? I'll recall F1 again. Alright, so I don't have contours turned on. I don't use contours. Maybe I should be, but I'll wait for somebody else to comment on that and tell me. What I do have on is I have this clicked on convective instability. And if I turn that on and off, you can see that green goes away. Well, I think that's kind of important because, you know, they say you'll get good soaring on an unstable day. That's where air's moving around. You don't have as much of a inversion or whatever, stable air. It's going to be, in my opinion, that would be, you know, air that's unstable is going to be rising up, thermaling up, and creating cumes. So I kind of like that. Temperature, I have inversion shown on there. So, like, for example, I'm looking at March 19th here, 3 p.m. Now let me see over on this thing. This is hard to see, but you see where that line's moving around right there? That's Wednesday, March 8th. Wait, Wednesday, March 19th. Okay. That would be 18 Zulu is what we're looking at. So, do we have an inversion? Well, it kind of does look like there's an inversion going on up here around 2,000 feet or so. It's happening. I mean, this is all predictive. I mean, we don't know what until we get to that day, but tomorrow, I'm saying. But that's what they're predicting today. So if we look at this in the morning before flying, you'll be looking at the most recent data. So that's what I choose to do, is look at it in the morning before I go. So anyway, there's the inversions button. If I go to aviation, I really don't have anything turned on there. You can mess with it and turn on clouds and see where they think clouds are gonna be forming. Cloud base is another one. I don't see anything happening when I toggle that. Visibility, I don't see nothing. So fire weather, I think that's a good one to look at. Mixing layer height. Okay, the yellow line is the mixing layer. So if I'm looking at this at Wednesday at 18 Zulu, see the yellow line? The mixing layer is showing up around 1K, or no, say 1,700 feet would be where the mixing layer is. So apparently it's not gonna maybe be that great of a thermal day that you can get very high. Now this day, Friday at 2 p.m., look how high that mixing layer is there. It's above 4,000 feet. So that's something I look at. And Will Perez has been a mentor to me for several years now, and he he talks about mixing layer height as a good indicator of how high you're going to be able to get that day, or how good of a soaring day it's going to be. So that's why I have that turned on, just to kind of see that stuff. And then if I hit controls, I'm not really seeing much there in the way of controls. I don't know what that does. I guess adjust local time. I'll use that. Oh, yawning. It's terrible. Hope I don't put you to sleep. Okay, so another thing to look at is, if I recall F2, that's some different settings. To me, that's a little bit interesting. And if you look at the different things that I got turned on there, I got elevated cape turned on. I got precip. Nothing really in there. Wind. This one. So I have they let you have different colors for different wind speeds, and it says wind speed knots. So that would give you an indication of kind of like what the winds are doing at altitude. Like if I was looking at that Wednesday 2 p.m. and I'm looking in here and I'm saying, oh, okay, you know, that's the wind. The length of the thing apparently is the power of the wind, or the speed of the wind, and then the coloration fits in here with this, so it'd be 12 knots. And you can see the colors are different for different areas. Like, you know, Wednesday at 2 a.m. you have this green color, so that'd be less velocity there on that wind. Okay, so keep moving on. Convection, I don't have anything turned on there. Temperature, nothing turned on there. Aviation. So I do have clouds turned on that one. And fire weather, again, I have the mixing height layer turned on. So I'll look at both of these. I'll recall F1, have a look at that. The other thing I wanted to show you on this particular one is, see this white line under convection. I got convection instability, wind. So I have vertical velocity turned on. Now, I'm not 100% sure if this is the vertical velocity that Jim Keller talks about, but I think perhaps that it is, because you can look at it, and Jim Keller would always say if the VVV report reads a minus number, like say minus 15, that's good for soaring. And well, when you have vertical velocity that shows negative, that, to me, from understanding what Jim Keller was trying to say, is that if the general air mass in the whole, I guess the whole atmosphere, is sort of sinking and coming down, that would be a vertical velocity of the entire air mass, I guess. So then what you'd have is, it's counterintuitive, but if the general air mass is sinking and falling, I think if I understood Jim Keller right, is that the air that's gonna create thermals would be going up through like little openings in that big air mass. So that warmer air that's on the surface, like the parcels of air that are gonna rise, they're down close to the earth and it's getting heated up by the sun, but the general air mass is sinking. So those thermals have to pop up through that general air mass and go up. So that's the theory anyway that I'm going with, is that the thermals are actually like pipes going up through the general air mass that allow that warm air that's trapped down there to shoot up through the general air mass as thermals. So that is what we're talking about with vertical velocity. If you want more information on that stuff, I guess you'd have to consult somebody that knows more about meteorology than I do. I'm just trying to show you some of the stuff that I've been looking at and that you can look at with this BUFKIT program. So, all right, well, that's pretty much all I have to show you. I've just messed with it myself. You know, I've just experimented with this. I've been comparing what I see on results here with other things, like I'll look at weather underground. I'll also run some of the reports. Like if I go to Chrome here and I look up a soaring road trip. Let me see. Hang on a minute here. Okay, I'm back. So I went back over here to the soaring road trip since we're talking about some of the other stuff that I have been using to compare BUFKIT to. And in here there's a soaring weather spreadsheet, and this kind of came from Jim Keller. Let me see. So if you click it, it'll download it for you. You're gonna need more information. You're gonna need like temperature and dew point, stuff like that you can get from running other things. But you can calculate cloud base with this spreadsheet. And then there's also this other program called Sorecast or soarforecast.com. You can get in there and do sorry. You can go in soarforecast.com. There you go. You can go in soarforecast.com and run this report, and you got to know what stations you're using and stuff. But what will happen with this is this will kind of give you a comparison point to where you think cloud base top of lift is. I know those two are not identical terms, but I kind of use them interchangeably because I'm probably not going to get that high anyway. So anyhow, yes, if you're a true weather guru, you wouldn't take such a nonchalant attitude as I have about some of this stuff. But one thing that, so there's some descriptions in here, I guess is all I'm saying. I'm just showing you where some more information is that you can compare with BUFKIT if you choose to do so. Alright, so there's the soaring spreadsheet. Here's this explanation of cloud base calculation. Jim Keller actually provided this information on how to do this by hand. I basically took that and put it into that spreadsheet. So you can run these reports that the government has, weather.gov, and get your temperature and dew point and all that stuff for the manual calculation of cloud base. Okay, this one is the vertical velocity thing that I was talking about. Again, this came from Jim Keller. I'm going to open this up. And so if you click on these, you'll get a report, and you'd be able to look and see what the vertical velocity is. And Jim says if it's a minus 15, that's a good thing for soaring thermals. So on that report, for the time of day, you'd be looking at vertical velocity, and if it's a minus 15, that's good for soaring. But he says if it's a minus 20 or less, that's sink monsters and strong turbulence for hang gliders. So anyway, that's what, if I get a chance to run the vertical velocity report on the day that I'm thinking about flying, I'll kind of compare to what I see over here on BUFKIT and see if I see it negative. Like, see, there's 0. If I see negative in there, well, that could mean that it might be good for soaring with that negative vertical velocity. What in my experience, what's kind of hard to know is, you know, this stuff is changing throughout the day, and I've seen days where you have to sort of interpolate and be like, because you're only given on the report a certain couple time frames, and the one vertical velocity might be showing as positive, and then you might see a negative vertical velocity. So it might be changing throughout the day and becoming better or becoming worse for soaring. So that's kind of a judgment call. As you see here, you know, the vertical velocity is changing too throughout the day. So for what that's worth, I think it's worthy of more study, and I hope that people see this stuff that I'm putting out there. And if there are meteorology gurus in the pilot crowd, which I know there are some, you know, we could even get better information and more ideas. So that would be awesome if people would see this and comment on it. And you know, since Travis Koshko introduced me to this program, you know, maybe he'll look at some of this stuff that we've presented here on the Soaring Road Trip and just, you know, kind of critique it with his experience. And I know there's other folks like Brian Van Hall that have a huge understanding of weather and different things. You know, maybe over time he'll get a chance to play with this program and pick out some other really interesting things related to weather and soaring forecasts and stuff. And certainly Jim Keller, if he looks at this, I would hope he'd tell me if I'm interpreting what he said wrong, or you know, give more pointers on this stuff. Anyhow, I better quit rambling. You know, this is pretty long, but then again, you know, we spend a lot of time driving on the road to get to where we're soaring. So if you can stomach an hour worth of listening to me ramble about this weather stuff, hopefully it might make your time on the road a little more productive when you get out on good soaring days, or maybe avoid days that don't look so good. So lastly, when do they run these soundings? I believe this also came from Jim Keller, and it's just some information on when they run these weather balloons up and do these soundings and put this data in here. So anyways, you can dig into this. And also, yeah, this is reminding me, because I was asking Jim Keller different things about this back and forth, you know, and okay, yeah, this is bringing back some memories. Actually, I can't give you specifics of this particular day, but one thing I do like to do in my weather study of a flying day, especially if it's like it seems changeable, like a front was going through, I'll go on the well, I get to it through the Soaring Road Trip website because that's easier for me to find. But what I'm looking at is the aviation forecast map. And so this is put out, I believe, by NOAA, Aviation Flight Center weather people. Anyway, it will show you where the fronts are and like the time frame when they're moving through a site that you're interested in flying. So here is something related to this vertical velocity. When you run those reports, vertical velocity, VVV, that is what you're looking at, and you're here, you're looking at minus 14, minus 13. So that would be, in Jim Keller's book, potentially a good soaring day. This would not be too good. Minus 26, it would be probably so crazy rowdy. Okay. Lastly, let's see this. So this report is what you see when you run that soarforecast.com thing that I was showing you in the other soarforecast.com, and kind of like where these are crossing is where you might expect the top of lift to be, or maybe cloud base. This program has a good README file. You can understand more about the program and how they have it set up by reading that. So Jim was saying that when you have a TI of -3, that is a good indicator of how high you might be able to get that day. So where does -3 occur in this list? Looks like about 3,000 feet minus TI. So that doesn't always agree with what this thing says, though. Like it's saying 62.99 for base of any clouds, but Jim is saying top of lift could be -3. -3 is where you'd find top of lift, which is quite a bit lower. So anyhow, I guess, yeah, okay, this makes sense. I'm talking myself out of what I said earlier. So where these are crossing, up here, you're looking at 7,000 feet, 6,500 feet there. That must be corresponding to the 62.99 base of clouds. But Jim Keller is saying that your top of lift is going to be where this -3 is. So quite a bit lower. Cloud base might be high, but you know, I guess the potential to soar higher than 3,000 is probably not all that likely on that day. So anyhow, all right, I'm done. I get carried away. But anyway, I wish you success in downloading the BUFKIT, getting these data files in there, and then being able to use it. I mean, no kidding. You can use BUFKIT over your cup of coffee in the morning and be like, yeah, I think I like what I see, and then make decisions from there. So, oh, one other thing I will show you. I got this app called Windy app, and yikes. No, I don't want that. Okay. Windy app. Alright, so you put a couple of your sites in here. Like, for example, I got Hyner and Harris Hill in here. And so I'll click on Hyner. Just want to see what's going on with that. I like this app. There's two Windy apps out there. This one is different than the other one that's called Windy TV or whatever. This app is produced by other people. So anyways, what I'll show you on there is they actually have skew-T data on this. So, for example, if I wanted to go to okay, here's Wednesday the 19th. And yeah, let's look at this close. 2 p.m. Since we were using that. So this is agreeing with what we saw on the BUFKIT. And so what you can do on here, you can see all the wind, all the weather models on there. What I like to do is click on this skew-T thing here. So I'm going to go over to the 19th, 2 p.m. Now this is interactive. You can move your finger on here and you can see these speeds, wind speeds. So this is pretty handy, and it's something you could take with you easy enough on your flying day. But I like it for the fact that you can look at this in comparison with what you're seeing on the BUFKIT. So it's giving you your skew-T is essentially, or your profile, your vertical profile is giving you wind speed and direction, temperature, dew point, and of course, yeah, I did say wind direction. But it's also giving you a possible spot where you'd see maybe that would top a lift would be. So I'm looking at that jag right there saying, oh, it's probably all you're going to get, and this is showing it to you in meters, but I think that's useful to have with you, or to run that against the BUFKIT thing too, and see if all these different sources are in agreement. And I believe this is based on the model that you're using. So go back to Hyner. I don't know. The internet's funny today. It's not working too good. It says retry. Well, anyway, we're done with this. So, well, what I was going to say about it is you can select the model that you want to see the skew-T for, or that profile. So, that program called Windy here, they have a thing where you can actually take this puzzle and you can buy if they give you if you take the puzzle or the quiz or whatever you want to call it, and you get a deal on getting a lifetime membership with it, which I did, and I ended up buying like a lifetime membership of that for $40, and I think it's probably a well worth it thing to have. It's maybe not as advanced as, say, XC Skies, but for using just for locals flying and you're not really doing cross-country stuff, I think it's pretty handy the way it works. So I did buy a copy of it, like lifetime, after taking their puzzle. So that's it. Have a good day. Bye.